why do we shoot in log? When I was going through film school as a freshman and as a sophomore, I had to work on a few different senior thesis sets as a part of your curriculum. And when you're working it, you'd end up in Video Village or catch a glimpse of the monitor, and it would look desaturated and low contrast and just generally flat. And so you'd ask, why does it look like that? And no matter who you asked, if anyone knew what they were talking about, they would only have one answer. It's because we're shooting in log. So what is log? Or what's the difference between log and Rec. 709? This is log before color correction. This is log after color correction. And this is me in Rec. 709. Log is intended to pick up all of the little details in the brightest of the highlights and in the darkest of the shadows. It results in a very flat image so that you are given the most wiggle room and the most room for working in post-production and in color correction. While Rec. 709 is really more so intended to create the most accurate depiction of what's going on in front of the camera. So as a result with Rec. 709, if it's trying to keep something looking just right as it would look to our eyes, it can completely blow out the highlights or completely just black out the shadows. So shooting in log stops that from happening. Well, basically what you're doing is you're giving yourself a much larger margin for the editing process and the color correction process. Say you have a Rec. 709 clip and you plug it into Premiere Pro or whatever your preferred color correction program is. You only have so much space in there to move things around and to change the color profiles before you compromise image quality. With log, you have a much larger area and room space for changing certain things. You know, you can take a clip like this and make it look like this, and still maintain that amazing image quality that you got from the initial footage. The short answer is no, honestly. I've been working behind a camera for about 10 years or so now, and up until a couple of months ago, I was shooting in Rec. 709. I was working with a Canon 6D and a few of these different things. I even started with a Canon T5i, and all of these really just had a cut and dry, this is what our picture profile looks like. If you like it, great. If not, you gotta upgrade. While this is more personal preference than anything else, I do personally think that there is a specific time and place to use log format. If you're working with freelance clients or you're shooting a film where you really need that margin to change the color temperature or really just have more room for editing things, definitely shoot in log. But in certain situations, if you're shooting a vlog and you want a quicker editing process, then you know it's the difference is negligible. Another thing that you really want to keep track of with log is your ISO count. For instance, I have a Sony a7S II. The native ISO in the camera is going to be 800. Anytime I shoot in log, the minimum ISO count is 1600. So as a result, your images may look a little bit grainier if they're not exposed properly. For example, if you look at this footage here, this was the first shoot that I did while shooting in log with this camera. And while the day of, I thought it looked great in camera, it looked fantastic. I go, okay, cool, great, everything looks properly exposed. I get to the editing process and I notice that almost every single clip without fail that was shot in log ended up kind of grainy and kind of noisy. I did some research and turns out that it's sort of a rule of thumb that you should be exposing or sort of overexposing your log footage by about 2 stops or so. Now, if you look at this footage, this was also shot in log later on down the road once I'd kind of learned my lesson. This time just using the 2 stops overexposed rule, and as you can see here, we got rid of virtually all of the noise problems we were having with the previous footage. So you've gone out and you've shot log footage. It looks great. It's looking how it's supposed to look. Now you're wondering, how do I start color correcting this? First off, I have to say everyone has their own process, so like have fun with it. There is no right and wrong way to color correct log footage aside from messing with maybe some of the saturation levels and the contrast levels. One of the most important parts about color correcting your log footage are LUTs and VSTs. So LUT is short for lookup table, and basically what that is that it's a pre-made set of color correction settings that give your footage a specific look or aesthetic. For example, on my computer I have a LUT pack called the LUT Pack. There's about 30 or so LUTs and VSTs that are designed to look like Hollywood movies. There's about 1 million LUTs and VSTs available online, and so many of them are free, so it is very, very beneficial just to go and do your research, look it up, download them, have fun with it. Once again, the color correction process can be very fun if you're doing it right. Piggybacking on to the concept of downloading LUTs and VSTs is creating your own presets. This is a very, very important thing, and that will save you a lot of time and heartache in the editing process. Over time, when you have spent time editing log footage, you will find out that you like your footage to look a certain way. When you start to do that and you compare it to previous footage that you've edited, you'll notice a lot of commonalities in the nuts and bolts of the settings that you've changed. While the color correction process is very fun, by hour 4 or 5 that you've spent staring at a screen, the same 4 seconds of footage, your enthusiasm will have diminished quite a bit. At the end of the day, no, log is not a necessity. However, if you have the ability and the resources to do it, there's really no reason why it should be off the table. It gives you a much larger margin for the color correction process. I mean, again, you can make footage that looks like this and turn it into this, or even this. I think that about wraps it up, guys. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to like, follow, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. Follow me on Instagram at GoodGriefMedia. You guys can see all of the footage that I've been taking and the photos that I've been taking that I can't necessarily post on YouTube. So until then, I will see you guys in the next video, and have a good one, guys.